Legends and curses are more than just stories, they are reflections of the human psyche, revealing our deepest fears and hidden desires. They whisper truths that evade direct understanding, born from the mysterious interplay of darkness and light within us. What we call demons or curses are often projections of our inner struggles, fears, and unresolved shadows. Yet these tales hold power not because of their reality, but because of the belief and energy we invest in them. Today, let us delve into the haunting beauty of these legends, exploring not just their terror, but the profound lessons they offer. What if the demons we fear are not our enemies, but guides, and the curses that haunt us are invitations to transform our narratives? Myths are not just fanciful tales spun by ancient minds, they are profound expressions of the human condition, weaving together the threads of our fears, hopes, and mysteries. They serve as a collective reflection of the psyche, capturing truths that elude straightforward articulation. A myth is not merely a story, it is a vessel for meaning, a symbolic language that transcends the limitations of words to touch something deeper within us. When we hear of demons, curses, or other worldly forces in legends, we are not only engaging with an external narrative, but with a mirror that reflects our inner realities. At the heart of myths lies a simple but powerful truth. They embody what we do not fully understand. They spring from our encounter with the unknown, the ineffable forces that shape our lives and the world around us. Long before we had the tools of modern science or philosophy, myths provided a framework for grappling with the questions that have always haunted humanity. Why are we here? What is the nature of good and evil? What happens after we die? These questions, being larger than life, require answers that are equally expansive and poetic. Myths, then, are lies but imaginative attempts to make sense of the incomprehensible. The power of myth lies in its universality. Across cultures and epochs, myths emerge with strikingly similar patterns, often sharing themes of creation, destruction, redemption, and transformation. This is not a coincidence, but a testament to the shared human experience. Though the characters, settings, and details may differ, the underlying truths resonate universally because they arise from the same source, the human psyche. Whether it is a cursed artifact, a vengeful spirit, or a demon lurking in the shadows, these symbols echo the struggles and aspirations that unite us all. They remind us that we are part of something far greater than ourselves, a collective dream that stretches across time and space. Demons and curses, for instance, are not mere horrors to be feared, they are often metaphors for the struggles we face within. A cursed object might represent the burden of guilt or greed, while a demon could symbolize the darker aspects of our personality that we suppress or deny. These stories do not merely entertain, they provoke us to confront the parts of ourselves we would rather ignore. They ask us to reflect on what it means to be human, to grapple with the shadows within us, and to seek the light that can emerge from that confrontation. Myths also have a remarkable capacity to shape our reality. What we believe about the world often determines how we experience it. A person who believes they are cursed may unconsciously act in ways that perpetuate their suffering, just as a community that shares a myth of hope and renewal may find strength and unity in times of hardship. In this way, myths are not static, they are alive, evolving with us, and influencing the way we live and perceive the world. They are both mirrors and makers of reality, reflecting who we are while simultaneously shaping who we become. Yet the beauty of myths lies not only in their depth, but in their openness. Unlike rigid doctrines, myths do not demand to be taken literally. They invite interpretation, imagination, and dialogue. A myth is not diminished by its ambiguity, it is enriched by it. Each listener or reader brings their own perspective to the story, finding meanings that resonate uniquely with their own experiences. In this way, myths are deeply personal, while also profoundly communal. They connect the individual to the collective, reminding us that we are both solitary beings and integral parts of a greater whole. To dismiss myths as mere superstitions or outdated relics is to overlook their enduring relevance. Even in the modern age, myths continue to shape our culture, our identities, and our understanding of the world. They are not just about gods and monsters, but about the very essence of being human. They challenge us to look beyond the surface of things, to embrace mystery, and to find meaning in the midst of chaos. In a world that often seeks certainty and control, myths remind us that some truths can only be approached through wonder, imagination, and a willingness to embrace the unknown. In their timelessness, myths hold a power that logic and reason alone cannot achieve. They speak to the soul, stirring something ancient and primal within us. They remind us that life is not just a series of facts, but a profound and ongoing story, one in which we are all both characters and authors. By engaging with myths, we do not escape reality, we deepen our understanding of it, finding wisdom and beauty in the mysteries that surround us. In this way, myths continue to haunt, inspire, and guide us, offering a bridge between the mundane and the transcendent. What we call a demon is often nothing more than the shadow within ourselves, the parts we hide, deny, or fail to understand. These demons are not creatures lurking in some dark, external world, but manifestations of the fears, desires, and unresolved emotions that reside in our own minds. The stories we tell about demons and their malevolence are reflections of the inner battles we face, the struggles between the person we aspire to be and the aspects of ourselves we seek to suppress. When we label something as evil or monstrous, it is worth asking whether we are truly describing an external force or projecting our own unresolved inner turmoil. The idea of the demon has appeared across cultures and histories, often embodying the unknown and the forbidden. In these tales, the demon is not just a threat to the protagonist, but a catalyst for change. It represents a challenge that must be faced, a fear that must be overcome, or a truth that must be acknowledged. These stories resonate because they speak to a universal truth: our greatest battles are often internal. The demon is a symbolic stand-in for all that we fear within ourselves: our anger, jealousy, greed, or shame. But these emotions, though unsettling, are not inherently evil. They are simply parts of us that have not yet been integrated or understood. To face the demon is to embark on the journey of self-discovery. It is tempting to ignore, suppress, or banish these darker parts of ourselves, believing that doing so will bring peace. But what we resist often persists. Suppression does not eliminate the demon, it drives it deeper into the shadows, where it continues to influence us in ways we cannot see or control. This is why people often feel haunted by their pasts or trapped by patterns of behavior they do not understand. The demon grows in the dark, thriving on our refusal to confront it. Yet, if we dare to face the demon, something remarkable happens. What once seemed terrifying begins to transform. The demon ceases to be an enemy and becomes a teacher. It reveals the wounds we need to heal, the truths we need to accept, and the strength we need to cultivate. The process is not easy. It requires courage, honesty, and a willingness to embrace discomfort. But in doing so, we reclaim the parts of ourselves that we had abandoned. We become more whole, more authentic, and more at peace. The idea of the demon within also challenges us to reconsider our definitions of good and evil. If the demon is not inherently malevolent, but a part of ourselves crying out for recognition, then the line between light and dark becomes less rigid. What we often label as evil may simply be misunderstood or unintegrated energy. This does not mean that harmful actions should be excused or ignored, but it does suggest that the source of those actions is more complex than we might think. By understanding the demon within, we can cultivate empathy for ourselves and for others. We can begin to see that behind every act of destruction lies a story of pain, fear, or unmet needs. In this sense, the demon within is not just a personal challenge, but a collective one. Societies, like individuals, have their shadows. These manifest as prejudice, violence, or greed, forces that seem external, but are ultimately rooted in the fears and insecurities of the collective human psyche. Just as individuals must face their inner demons to grow, societies must confront their collective shadows to evolve. This requires honesty, dialogue, and a willingness to face uncomfortable truths. Ultimately, the demon within is not something to be exorcised or destroyed, but something to be understood and integrated. It is a reminder that we are complex beings, capable of both light and darkness. To embrace this complexity is to embrace our humanity. The demon within challenges us to grow, to heal, and to find balance. It teaches us that true strength lies not in denying our shadows, but in learning to navigate them with wisdom and compassion. By doing so, we transform our demons from sources of fear into sources of power, turning what once haunted us into what now guides us. Fear is one of the most ancient and primal forces that shape human experience. It is a storyteller that whispers in the dark, weaving narratives from the shadows of the unknown. In its essence, fear is a survival mechanism, alerting us to danger and helping us navigate a world filled with uncertainty. Yet fear does not simply reside in the immediate moment. It has a remarkable capacity to expand, crafting entire stories about what could happen, what might be lurking, and what we cannot control. In doing so, it becomes not just a reaction but a creative force, shaping how we perceive and respond to the world around us. At its core, fear thrives on uncertainty. When we cannot see clearly or understand fully, fear steps in to fill the void. It constructs scenarios, often exaggerated or entirely fabricated, to help us make sense of the unknown. This is why fear is so closely tied to imagination. A rustling in the bushes might simply be the wind, but fear spins it into a tale of predators or lurking dangers. The unknown becomes a canvas, and fear is the artist painting vivid pictures of what might be hiding in the shadows. The stories fear tells often carry immense power because they tap into something universal. Fear reminds us of our vulnerability, our fragility, and our mortality. These truths are uncomfortable to confront, so fear externalizes them, giving them shape in the form of legends, monsters, and curses. Across cultures, we see fear reflected in myths of demons, vengeful spirits, and ominous forces. These stories are not just tales of external threats, but expressions of the inner fears that all humans share: the fear of loss, of failure, of the unknown, and of death. What makes fear such a compelling storyteller is its ability to take root in our minds and grow beyond the immediate situation. A moment of fear can spiral into an enduring narrative that defines how we see ourselves and the world. For instance, the fear of rejection can evolve into a belief that we are unworthy of love, shaping our relationships and interactions. The fear of failure can turn into a lifelong hesitation to take risks or pursue dreams. These narratives, while born of a momentary emotion, become part of our identity, influencing our decisions and limiting our potential. Yet fear's storytelling is not inherently negative. Like all stories, the ones crafted by fear have a purpose to protect us, to warn us, and to guide us away from danger. The challenge lies in discerning when fear's narrative is helpful and when it is holding us back. Too often, we accept fear's stories as absolute truth, forgetting that they are just one version of reality. Fear is persuasive, but it is not infallible. Its stories are rooted in possibility, not certainty. By recognizing this, we can begin to question fear's narratives and rewrite them in ways that empower rather than paralyze us. Fear also invites us to explore the unknown rather than retreat from it. The stories it tells are often incomplete, leaving room for curiosity and discovery. When we lean into fear rather than running from it, we find that what we imagine to be monstrous is often far less terrifying than we thought. The shadow on the wall once faced is revealed to be nothing more than a trick of the light. This is the paradox of fear. It gains power in avoidance but loses it in confrontation. Moreover, fear's stories are deeply tied to our growth. The things we fear most often hold the greatest potential for transformation. Fear points us toward the edges of our comfort zones, the places where growth and change occur. To listen to fear without being controlled by it is to use its stories as a map rather than a prison. It shows us where we feel vulnerable, where we need healing, and where we can become stronger. Fear's role as a storyteller also connects us to others. The narratives it spins are not just individual but collective. Societies have long used fear to create myths, warnings, and moral tales. These shared stories bind communities together, reminding people of the dangers that threaten their survival and the values they hold dear. However, fear can also be manipulated, its stories weaponized to divide and control. Understanding fear's storytelling nature allows us to see through such manipulation and reclaim the power to write our own narratives. In the end, fear is not an enemy to be vanquished, but a voice to be understood. Its stories are neither wholly true nor wholly false. They are invitations to look deeper. Fear shows us what matters most to us: our safety, our loved ones, our aspirations, and challenges us to protect and pursue those things with courage. When we listen to fear without letting it dominate, we find that it is not just a storyteller but a teacher. It shows us where our greatest vulnerabilities lie and, in doing so, points us toward our greatest strengths. Belief is one of the most powerful forces shaping human reality. It has the capacity to inspire greatness, to unite communities, and to give meaning to existence. Yet, belief can also be a double-edged sword. When we hold on to certain ideas too rigidly or invest in beliefs that limit us, they can become curses, shackles that bind us to fear, suffering, or stagnation. This paradox is central to the human experience. The very force that can liberate us can also imprison us, depending on how we wield it. A curse, in the traditional sense, is a projection of misfortune or doom, often tied to a spoken word, a ritual, or a symbol. But a curse truly gains power only when it is believed. Without belief, a curse is inert, just a series of words or actions that hold no sway over the individual. It is the act of believing in the curse, of internalizing its story, that transforms it into a living force. This dynamic speaks to the profound role belief plays in shaping our reality. What we accept as true becomes, in many ways, true for us. Consider the stories of cursed objects, forbidden places, or doomed bloodlines. These tales often reveal how belief perpetuates the curse. A person who believes they are cursed may begin to see misfortune everywhere, interpreting random events as evidence of the curse's power. Their actions, driven by fear or resignation, may even create the very outcomes they dread. This self-fulfilling prophecy is a testament to the immense influence belief holds over our perceptions and experiences. The curse, then, is not something external imposed upon us. It is a construct we co-create through our own minds. The curse of belief is not limited to superstitions or folklore. It appears in subtler but equally powerful ways in our everyday lives. When we adopt limiting beliefs about ourselves, such as "I am not good enough" or "I will never succeed," we carry a kind of personal curse. These beliefs shape our actions or inactions and narrow the possibilities we see for our lives. Over time, they can become invisible barriers, holding us back from growth and fulfillment. Like any curse, these beliefs often go unexamined, their power rooted in the fact that we accept them without question. Socially, the curse of belief manifests in the collective myths and narratives that societies hold dear. Prejudices, stereotypes, and rigid ideologies can all function as curses, shaping how people see themselves and each other. A society that believes in scarcity, for example, may foster competition and hoarding, perpetuating inequality and distrust. Similarly, beliefs in unchangeable hierarchies or identities can stifle progress and reinforce oppression. These societal curses, like personal ones, gain their power from collective acceptance. Challenging them requires the courage to question deeply ingrained assumptions and imagine alternative possibilities. Yet, belief itself is not inherently harmful. What turns belief into a curse is not its existence, but its unexamined nature. When we fail to reflect on why we believe what we do, or when we cling to beliefs despite evidence to the contrary, we risk becoming trapped by them. This rigidity can prevent growth, limit creativity, and isolate us from new perspectives. In contrast, when we approach belief with curiosity and openness, it becomes a tool for exploration rather than a chain. Breaking free from the curse of belief involves a willingness to question and to confront discomfort. It requires us to examine the stories we tell ourselves and the assumptions we take for granted. This process is not easy. Beliefs often feel like foundational truths, and challenging them can provoke fear or resistance. But it is through this questioning that we reclaim our agency. By recognizing that we have the power to shape our beliefs, we begin to loosen the grip of those that no longer serve us. This liberation does not mean abandoning belief altogether. On the contrary, it means choosing our beliefs more consciously, aligning them with our values and aspirations rather than our fears. Belief, when approached mindfully, can be a source of strength and resilience. It can inspire us to act with courage, to connect with others, and to envision a better future. The key is to hold beliefs lightly, allowing them to evolve as we learn and grow, rather than clinging to them as fixed and immutable truths. Ultimately, the curse of belief is a reminder of the creative power of the human mind. What we believe shapes not only our individual lives, but also the world we collectively create. By becoming more aware of this power, we can transform belief from a source of limitation into a source of possibility. The stories we tell about ourselves and our world are not set in stone, they are narratives we can rewrite. In doing so, we free ourselves from the curses we have inherited or imposed upon ourselves, stepping into a reality shaped by intention, curiosity, and hope. Legends are more than just stories passed down through the ages. They are the echoes of human experience, crafted to teach, guide, and protect. Beneath their fantastical elements and dramatic narratives, legends often carry warnings, cautionary tales meant to steer us away from danger, whether physical, moral, or spiritual. These stories, though steeped in symbolism, hold truths about the consequences of our actions and the choices we make. By wrapping these lessons in the allure of mystery and intrigue, legends ensure their messages endure, weaving caution into the fabric of culture and memory. At their core, legends are born from observation and experience. Early communities, living in a world filled with uncertainties, relied on stories to convey the wisdom necessary for survival. A tale of a monster lurking in the forest may have served as a warning about the dangers of wandering alone, while a legend of a cursed treasure could reflect the destructive power of greed. These stories, though exaggerated or fictionalized, were grounded in practical realities. They used the language of myth to communicate truths about life, creating narratives that were not only memorable but deeply resonant. The power of legends lies in their ability to communicate warnings in a way that transcends logic or reason. A direct statement, "Do not swim in these waters, for they are dangerous," may be easily dismissed or forgotten. But a legend of a vengeful water spirit that drags unsuspecting swimmers to their doom leaves a lasting impression. Fear and fascination make the story unforgettable, embedding its cautionary message in the listener's mind. Legends do not simply state the consequences of certain actions, they make those consequences vivid, visceral, and impossible to ignore. Yet, the warnings in legends are rarely simple or one-dimensional. They often explore the complexity of human nature, illustrating how our desires, flaws, and choices can lead us astray. A story of a hero who falls from grace because of arrogance or greed is not just a warning against those traits, but a reflection of the struggles we all face. Legends hold up a mirror to humanity, showing us the potential for both greatness and failure within ourselves. They do not merely tell us what to avoid, they invite us to reflect on why we are drawn to the things that may ultimately harm us. Legends also serve as warnings on a collective level, addressing the dangers that threaten entire communities or societies. Stories of civilizations that anger the gods and are punished with destruction, for example, may speak to the consequences of hubris, environmental neglect, or moral decay. These tales, while rooted in specific cultures and contexts, often carry universal themes, reminding us of the delicate balance between human ambition and the natural or moral order. They challenge us to consider the impact of our actions not only on ourselves but on the world around us. However, the warnings in legends are not always about avoiding harm. Sometimes they are about confronting it. Legends of heroes who face great trials or defeat formidable enemies remind us that danger and adversity are inevitable parts of life. The warning in these cases is not about the peril itself, but about the consequences of failing to rise to the challenge. These stories teach us about courage, resilience, and the necessity of struggle in the pursuit of growth and transformation. Despite their enduring relevance, the warnings in legends are not always heeded. In the modern age, where myth and folklore are often dismissed as mere entertainment, their lessons can be overlooked or misunderstood. Yet the themes they explore, hubris, greed, fear, and the consequences of our actions, are as pertinent as ever. The legends of the past continue to offer insights into the challenges we face today if only we take the time to listen and reflect. In many ways, legends act as a bridge between the past and the present, connecting us to the wisdom of those who came before us. They remind us that the struggles and dangers we face are not new but part of the shared human experience. By engaging with these stories, we gain a deeper understanding of ourselves and the world, learning not only from our own experiences, but from the collective memory of generations. Ultimately, legends as warnings are not meant to instill fear, but to inspire awareness. They challenge us to consider the consequences of our actions, to recognize the patterns that lead to harm, and to choose our paths wisely. They remind us that while the future is uncertain, we are not without guidance. The stories we inherit offer both caution and hope, urging us to learn from the past as we navigate the present and shape the future. In this way, legends continue to fulfill their purpose, guiding us through the complexities of life with their timeless wisdom. Hauntings are often thought of as isolated, eerie events, ghostly apparitions, strange noises, or unsettling presences tied to a moment in time or a particular place. Yet the phenomenon of haunting is rarely static. Instead, it unfolds in cycles, repeating patterns that ripple through time and memory. These cycles reveal the enduring nature, unresolved emotions, actions, and energies, showing how the past, no matter how deeply buried, can find its way into the present. Hauntings, whether literal or metaphorical, are reminders that what we leave unresolved does not disappear but lingers, waiting to resurface. In many cultures, hauntings are tied to unfinished business. Spirits are said to linger because of unfulfilled desires, unresolved conflicts, or injustices left unaddressed. These narratives often follow cyclical patterns: an anniversary of a tragedy, the repetition of a particular act, or the reawakening of a long dormant energy. The ghost appears, the cycle plays out, and then it fades only to return again under the same conditions. These cycles speak to the persistence of unresolved matters, as if the energy of the past refuses to rest until it is acknowledged and reconciled. But haunting is not limited to the supernatural. In our own lives, we experience cycles of haunting in more personal and internal ways. Old fears, regrets, or memories can resurface unexpectedly, triggered by familiar circumstances or emotions. These moments remind us that the past, while no longer physically present, remains alive in our minds and hearts. The patterns of these hauntings often mirror the cycles of nature, seasons changing, history repeating, or personal habits resurfacing. Each recurrence is an opportunity to confront what we once avoided, to find closure, or to break free from the loop. These cycles are not inherently malicious. They are, in many ways, invitations to reflection. A haunting forces us to confront the things we would rather ignore. It reminds us that time does not erase all wounds, and that healing requires attention and effort. When the same ghosts appear, whether in the form of old mistakes, recurring conflicts, or unresolved pain, they are asking us to engage with them, to learn from the patterns they reveal. The discomfort they bring is not meant to punish, but to teach. On a larger scale, the cycles of haunting can also be seen in history and society. Events that seem buried in the past often re-emerge, repeating in ways that feel both familiar and unsettling. Wars, injustices, and cultural wounds linger, resurfacing in new forms but carrying the same unresolved energy. These historical hauntings challenge us to confront the root causes rather than simply addressing the symptoms. They remind us that until we collectively learn the lessons of the past, we are bound to repeat its mistakes. Breaking the cycle of haunting, whether personal or collective, requires awareness and intention. It means recognizing the patterns, understanding their origins, and taking steps to address them. This process can be uncomfortable, as it often involves facing truths we have long avoided. But it is also liberating, offering the chance to release the weight of the past and create space for renewal. Ultimately, the cycles of haunting are not just about the persistence of the past, but about its connection to the present. They remind us that time is not linear but interconnected, and that what we leave unresolved will find its way back to us. By engaging with these cycles thoughtfully and courageously, we can transform haunting from a source of fear into an opportunity for growth and understanding. Monsters have long held a place in human imagination, embodying fears, desires, and mysteries that are difficult to confront directly. These creatures, whether drawn from folklore, myth, or our own minds, are often portrayed as threats, terrifying beings to be defeated or avoided. Yet, beneath their grotesque appearances and fearsome actions lies an essential truth: monsters are not merely villains, they are teachers. They challenge us to examine our fears, confront our limitations, and explore the shadowy corners of our psyche. By engaging with these creatures, we can uncover profound insights about ourselves and the world we inhabit. Monsters often represent aspects of the unknown, whether external or internal. A dragon guarding its hoard, a sea serpent lurking beneath the waves, or a shape-shifting demon are all expressions of humanity's encounter with mystery and the limits of understanding. These figures compel us to step outside the boundaries of comfort and certainty. They remind us that life's greatest challenges often lie in confronting what we do not yet understand, whether it's the vastness of the natural world or the complexity of our emotions and desires. In this way, monsters invite us to expand our knowledge and bravery, showing us that growth often requires venturing into the unfamiliar. On a psychological level, monsters are powerful symbols of the shadow, the parts of ourselves we deny, repress, or fear. The werewolf, for instance, embodies the wild, untamed instincts we try to suppress in civilized life, while vampires can symbolize forbidden desires or the fear of mortality. By externalizing these inner struggles, monsters give us a way to engage with them without being overwhelmed. Facing a monster in a story, or even in a dream, becomes a metaphor for confronting our own inner darkness. In this confrontation, we have the opportunity to integrate these shadow aspects, transforming what once seemed monstrous into a source of strength or insight. Culturally, monsters also serve as reflections of societal fears and values. The creatures we invent or emphasize often mirror the anxieties of their time. In eras of exploration, sea monsters symbolize the dangers of uncharted waters in times of social upheaval. Monstrous beings reflected fears of the other or the disruption of order. Understanding the monsters of a culture reveals what that society most fears and often what it most needs to address. In this way, monsters not only challenge individuals but also hold up a mirror to collective values and anxieties, teaching lessons on a broader scale. Importantly, monsters do not only threaten, they also inspire. Heroes in myths and legends often achieve greatness through their encounters with monsters. Slaying a dragon, outwitting a trickster, or surviving a haunting forces characters to grow stronger, wiser, and more resourceful. These stories remind us that adversity, while frightening, is also an opportunity for transformation. The monster is not merely an obstacle, but a catalyst pushing us to reach beyond our perceived limits and discover what we are truly capable of. By viewing monsters as teachers rather than simply threats, we transform our relationship with fear. They show us where we need to grow, what we need to confront, and what we can become. Whether they dwell in the depths of myth or the recesses of our minds, monsters remind us that life's challenges are not to be avoided but embraced. In doing so, they teach us courage, resilience, and the profound wisdom that comes from facing the unknown.